When I think about free will and how moral evil arises from those that give in to inordinate desire, it is hard to resist the thought that God could have tweaked us and refined us a little bit. Could he not have fashioned us in such a way that we didn't have to sin to such extremes? What if there were greater constraints on our free will, so only so much evil could be done? What if we had free will and we used it to only cling to God and truth? These sorts of questions appear to animate Augustine at the beginning of chapter 5. He upbraids us. If it occurs to our right reason that better creatures ought to have been made, then we can be sure that God is way ahead of us and has created that just order. It just so happens that those beings exist above us and we are inferior to them in a respect. We might then ask, why did God go and create temporal beings? Couldn't he remain content with the obedient angels? Augustine thinks such retorts would be founded if the divine pattern had not been made. For instance, if there were only earth, we might have a point if we exclaimed, why no heavens? But because the superior thing has been made, we can't begrudge that something inferior in the order exists. There are so many things inferior to us in this world. Worms, diamonds, light, whatever. But we do not say God should not have created all these things and that the light and stones and us should all be angels. We don't say these things. We take delight in this divine order, generally, except when it comes to our position in it. Is that necessarily problematic? Couldn't the divine order remain as it is, except humans are transformed into angels? Augustine might say that this is unfair to God. No one makes humans sin. If humans remain steadfastly committed to unchangeable truth, then we wouldn't wish for God to have made us differently. We made ourselves different because we frequently choose sin. To recap, the divine order is looking something like this from top to bottom. God, angels, humans who rarely sin, humans who can go either way but can be redeemed, humans committed to sin, animals, plants, inanimate objects. This divine order supposedly works together to bring about a particular type of harmony. It is hubris to call this order into question, and as we examined earlier, we are responsible for our sin, not God. At the moment, I find myself both hating and loving this idea of a divine order. I didn't hear much about it growing up in my tiny Methodist church. It's a beautiful thought to think about every piece of creation working together towards a harmony. This idea isn't unproblematic, though. First, that harmony has got to be a pretty good one to justify all the moral evil in the world. What possible harmony could God have in mind that would offset all the tragedies we see in history books and headlines? Second, I'm beginning to get worried about divine foreknowledge again. If I think of creation as a somewhat spontaneously generated event where God set certain preconditions in order and then the thing took off, I'm less troubled by the idea that God foreknows humans will sin. However, if God conceives of the divine order before setting the whole cosmic game in motion, I get uncomfortable with divine foreknowledge again. God, before creation, creates a plan and foreknows that the angels will not sin and that the humans will. The only way I can think of God getting off the hook for the presence of moral evil in the world is if I can understand the harmony he wishes to attain and that this was the only possible blueprint or the best possible blueprint. I guess I'm asking if we live in the best possible world.